Hello all, the Scottish Twins here, coming to you from a set that I've built, for this specific purpose, actually. And this purpose is to, show off my models. And I thought, who better to start with than the number one himself, Thomas the Tank Engine. In this series of videos, I will be discussing how I made the model, what I used to make the model, and the history of the character, as it is in my series, the Railway Series Continued. I hope to upload an episode of this series at least once a week. If I get behind because of school and stuff, please bear with me. But right now my goal is at least once a week. And like I said, who better to start with than Thomas for week 1. I intend to go in numerical order until we get up to territory where you have not seen the characters in numerical order, such as new characters that are getting introduced into the series. So, I will go ahead and start with how I made Thomas. Thomas was made with a take-along Thomas model, obviously. You can see a bit of scratch work there. Or not scratch, but like paint scratches. I think that's alright. I feel like it gives character to Thomas and the kind of vibe he gets off as a character. The paint that I used for Thomas's like main color is, I'll move Thomas out of the way, this Deco Art Americana Sapphire Blue. This is what all of my Northwestern Railway Blue engines are painted in, is this shade of blue. Thomas's lining is in Deco Art Americana Santa Red. Oops, sorry. And his numbering and whistle is in Deco Art Americana Cadmium Yellow. And that's typically the standard for all of my engines, the blue ones. And of course, the black was used with just some black paint from Americana. The eyebrows were done with some Sharpie, and yeah, that's how I made Thomas. Now let's get into the history. You might be able to hear that I'm not in my usual recording area, which is down in where I record episodes, is down in the garage, like I've shown you in previous videos. But I'm in my room filming on this set right here. So let's get into the history. Details of Thomas's arrival in the Northwestern Railway in 1915 show he arrived by mistake. How this happened is unknown, but it is believed that he went to Sodor in a wartime mix-up. His driver and fireman got along well with the local people and married Sodrian women. By 1920, neither wanted to leave the island or their beloved engine. Through an inquiry, Sir Topham Hatt found out that the LBSCR had written off Thomas as being lost on war service. Rather than face complications resulting in a change in their books, the LBSC quietly sold Thomas to the Northwestern Railway for a nominal sum. Thomas formerly worked as a station pilot at Vickerstown, shunting trains for the bigger engines on the main line to take out. He enjoyed teasing the other engines, especially Gordon, who he would quickly sneak up on and whistle loudly while Gordon dozed in a siding. Eventually, Gordon managed to get back at Thomas by pulling out of the station before he could be uncoupled from the coaches, dragging him down the line at a tremendous speed. Thomas vowed to never tease Gordon again. On an occasion when Henry fell ill, Thomas took his morning passenger train, since there were no other engines available, much to his delight. However, for unknown reasons, Thomas left the station before he could be coupled to his train, leaving the coaches behind. Thomas was not aware of his mistake until he was stopped by a signalman who asked where his train was. Ashamed and confused, Thomas returned to the station and collected his coaches. Subsequently, the incident made him a laughingstock among the other engines. Thomas continued to grumble to the other engines, though they took no notice of him. However, Edward felt sorry for him and allowed him to take his goods train to Walsworth while he handled his shunting duties in the yard. Although Edward had warned him to be careful around the trucks, Thomas took no notice and bumped the trucks as he started. When they reached Gordon's Hill, the trucks pushed him down the line, causing him to lose control. He only managed to stop the train before hitting a set of buffers in Walsworth Yard, where he was confronted by the Fat Controller. So that Thomas could learn about trucks almost as much as Edward, the Fat Controller kept Thomas there, continuing the swap with Edward, and could easily keep an eye on things, as he lives at Walsworth. While Thomas worked there, he saw the breakdown train. Shortly after, he learned what its purpose was. James ran right past him, out of control thanks to the trucks, and derailed in a field west of the station. Thomas fetched the breakdown train and rushed to James's aid, helped to clean up the broken trucks, and bring James back to the shed when he was re-railed. As a reward for his actions, Thomas was given 2 new coaches called Annie and Clarabelle, and the responsibility of running the Farquhar branch line, much to his delight. Thomas loves his branch dearly, and many adventures during his first days on the line. He once left his guard behind by accident, and on another occasion he accidentally swallowed fish into his tank when he took on water from the lake, causing him tremendous pain. During the autumn season, Thomas met Terence and teased him for his caterpillar tracks, though he soon came to regret this after he became stuck in the snow and had to be pulled out by Terence. Thomas later met Bertie and was challenged to a race to Farquhar. Although he was behind for most of the race, Thomas managed to overtake Bertie and won. In 1960, Thomas crashed into the Farquhar station master's house after a careless cleaner had meddled with his controls. Being unable to stop on his own, this incident taught Thomas that he still needed his driver to control him, as opposed to when an earlier compliment by his driver had gone to his smoke box. Thomas was sent to Crovan's Gate Works to be mended and received some changes to his design, including a new footplate that was now level from the smoke box to bunker. When Thomas returned to the branch line, he began looking after the passenger trains with Daisy. In 1990, Thomas was invited by the National Railway Museum to represent the Northwestern Railway in the Great Railway Show, an event showcasing many famous engines across the UK. Thomas was excited, but the journey to York was shaky. He damaged his front buffer beam when he hit a crossing gate, and the lorry he was traveling on was booked for parking illegally. Thomas was repaired when he arrived at the museum and befriended Green Arrow while he was being mended, though he continued to have bad luck when he ran into a bag thrown onto the line and frightened a small child. Fortunately, Thomas managed to make up for his bad luck when, as he was double-heading a rail tour with Green Arrow, he noticed the line up ahead was damaged and stopped the train. As a reward for his actions, Thomas was made an honorary member of the National Railway Museum and received a plaque. Afterwards, Thomas left York and returned to Sodor. When Thomas returned from York, he helped with the building of the Harwich branch line. In 1995, during the Golden Jubilee of the Railway Series, Thomas derailed on his branch line after rabbits had been undermining the track. He was rescued and managed to attend the Jubilee at Tidmouth, albeit after being delayed at Knapford Junction, after a set of points and a signal failure. In 2011, Thomas had been crossing the river bridge near Elsbridge when he was forced to stop due to an injured swan laying on the rails. He escorted it to Farquhar, where it was taken to a vet after recovery. Thomas brought it back to Elsbridge, where the swan was freed. Later, he attended the Finn clergyman's centenary. In the summer of 2011, Thomas was upset about Stanley replacing Toby after the tram engine moved to Great Waterton. But after a heroic action by Stanley, Thomas came around.